Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online Regulation D VGC ladder in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and provide live commentary as I go. In this video, I'm going to be using one of the best teams from the World Championships in 2023. This team was built and piloted by Hirofumi Kimura, who is a two-time Japanese national champion and finished second at the World Championships in 2019. Hirofumi used very standard Pokemon at the World Championships, but he optimized them for some really interesting sets. For example, you've got plus speed, booster energy, Flutter Mane with Calm Mind and near max HP and max defense, Life Orb, Adamant Chien, as well as Choice Band Hisuan Arcanine with normal Tera extreme speed. Hirofumi also won an invitational tournament that Wolf Lake organized in Japan, featuring some of the best players in Japanese history, and so this is easily one of the strongest teams in the meta right now. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps down below, and thanks so much as always for joining me. If you enjoy, would really appreciate it if you consider leaving a like in the video or subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a ton. Anyway, let's dive into things. Breaking things down, as always, rental, paste, and team creator are linked down in the description below. And question of the day, I want to know how you're generally feeling about the Regulation D metagame at the moment down in the comment section below. Like I mentioned, this team was built by one of the greatest players of all time hailing from Japan, Hirofumi Kimura, two-time Japanese national champion, Worlds Finalist, and finished top 32 in the world with this team. The Pokemon on the team, like I mentioned also, are relatively standard, but I have not seen some of these Pokemon used at all the way Hirofumi used them, and it is unbelievable how good some of these sets feel. So the first Pokemon I want to talk about is this Flutter Mane. Now, a lot of players in Regulation D use Choice Specs as their main item of choice on Flutter Mane. Hirofumi opted for a booster energy set, even with just 4 speed EVs on Flutter Mane. The idea behind this is that with booster energy, you basically still outpace everything, but you also have so much investment in HP and defense. What this means is that this Flutter Mane is going to be surviving physical attacks way more frequently than your opponents will anticipate. You combine that with the fact that you have Hisuan Arcanine for Intimidate and Rillaboom for grassy terrain, and it is remarkable how long Flutter Mane can actually stay on the field. Calm Mind is a really nice move on this Flutter Mane in particular. It's super good in just giving other special attackers a ton of trouble. For example, if you lead Flutter Mane and your opponent just has a special attacker that already can't deal that much damage to Flutter Mane, you often can get a free Calm Mind up and then just go from there. And it is crazy how different this Flutter Mane feels from your traditional Choice Specs Flutter Manes, which are less invested in bulk and more so in special attack and speed. Dazzling Gleam, Shadow Ball, and Protect are all fairly standard. Grass Tera are really essential in surviving against something like Urshifu, for example, as well as giving you immunity to Spore from Amoonguss. So this set alone, honestly, has felt absolutely wild. It's so strong against special attacking teams in particular, and it is remarkable how much damage you can do after a Calm Mind booster too. So I've just not seen Flutter Mane being used this way. A lot of people have used booster energy, but generally have invested more in speed or booster energy with special attack. But to only see 4 speed EVs and so much investment in HP and defense, I think is fascinating. So with the Flutter Mane, Rillaboom is going to be a really important partner for it because grassy terrain recovery on this is actually very essential. This is a pretty traditional Assault Vest Rillaboom set, but the main thing to call out is that you're actually Steel Tera. You might be wondering why Steel Tera. You still share your weakness to fire, but it helps out against a bunch of common things. For example, Bleak Wind Storm and flying type attacks in general, helps out against ice type attacks from Chien, for example, helps out against fairy type attacks as well. And so yes, you still have your fire type weakness, but fire, I'd say, isn't that common, and it's really important to have resistances against some of those other types that I was talking about. But otherwise, fairly standard set. Know that you have 52 speed EVs, so that can give you the edge against opposing Rillabooms. One of the other things I love about this team is the normal Tera Hisuan Arcanine. Now, this set is really fun for a couple of reasons. First of all, you just do a lot of damage with Hisuan Arcanine. Fire Rock typing, by the way, fairly valuable in this format because it does give you resistance to some pretty common typings. It's funny, I was talking about Fire earlier. Yes, it's not the most common typing, but something like Chi-Yu, for example, can still be pretty annoying otherwise. So having something that can switch in on those heat waves, pretty valuable. And you know, we've seen normal Tera Dragonite with Choice Band at extreme speed. Hisuan Arcanine has slightly less base attack, but you can still combine it with Chien to deal massive amounts of damage, right? So, yeah. Pretty straightforward set in terms of damage. The main thing to note is that you do have a very strong move in the Head Smash, but you're going to want to save those most of the time. I think I find myself clicking Flare Blitz actually most frequently, but it's pretty situational depending on what you're up against. And Intimidate is just so nice with this team to protect Flutter Mane even more. Like, I find this core of Rillaboom, Arcanine, and Flutter Mane is so much bulkier than you would generally expect those 3 Pokemon to be, and Flutter Mane alone can sustain for so long thanks to the support of these 2 in particular. To round things out, you've got Life Orb Chien-Pao. Now, this set in general is also not very common, right? Going into this year's World Championships, and the Chien-Pao set that ended up winning Worlds was just Focus Sash, but Life Orb Chien-Pao just does so much more damage, and I think everyone's been conditioned to just think about regular Chien-Pao calcs, but the fact that this is Adamant Nature and Life Orb just means you do substantially more than often players will anticipate, and it is remarkable how many one-hit knockouts this Pokemon can get. I think going into Worlds, a lot of people EV'd to survive specifically for Adamant Chien-Pao, but without Life Orb into consideration. So with Poison Tera, first of all, that gives you the resistance into Fairy, very valuable into Flutter Mane, and with Life Orb, your Ice Skull crashes are often going to be picking up one-hit knockouts that your opponents will not expect. The main thing to note about this Chien-Pao is obviously you are Adamant Nature, so you're going to be slower than, for example, Flutter Manes that are timid, other Chien-Paos that are jolly, and this Chien-Pao actually isn't even max speed, and partially the reason for this is to optimize for Life Orb. So you have 28 HP EVs, and this is ideal for Life Orb recoil damage, basically. But yeah, I think this set is so strong, and it is remarkable how many big one-hit knockouts I've gotten with this team that my opponents won't anticipate. To round things out, you've got Tornadus and Urshifu. This is a duel that we've seen plenty of. Nothing too crazy here. The Urshifu has a little bit of bulk investment, but otherwise mainly just focusing on dealing out as much damage as possible. Nothing too surprising here. And the Tornadus is Ghost Tera with Rocky Helmet, and you've got Bleak Wind, Taunt, Tailwind, and Rain Dance. The main thing here is obviously Rain Dance is really good with Urshifu, so I've had games where I think, the Tornadus is a lot bulkier than a lot of Tornaduses, right? You'll see it almost has no special attack or speed investment, so you'll be surviving more frequently, which is really nice. Rocky Helmet, just really valuable into all of the physical attackers, especially Urshifu, and this is a obviously fairly effective lead where you can just go for Tailwind immediately and play the game from there. So yeah, once again, the Pokemon on this team fairly straightforward, but the Flutter Mane, the Arcanine, the Chien-Pao, these sets in particular, I think really stand out to me because I have not seen these Pokemon generally used like they are being used on this team. Arcanine, I think I've seen Choice Band a fair amount, but the Calm Mind Flutter with this amount of defense investment and the booster, as well as Life Orb, Poison Tera, Chien-Pao, it's just so powerful, and I feel like it's given me a significant edge in so many of the matchups I've played in. So yeah, I think it's one of the most flexible teams I've tried because you can really kind of just lead with anything and go from there. But I think leveraging the defense drops from Chien-Pao is really valuable. I think figuring out who you want to ideally sweep with in the early game is important. For me, everything on this team is in win condition other than I guess Tornadus. So it's really about often for me baiting out a Tera early on and then trying to figure out which one of these Pokemon can just sweep through my opponent's team. So yeah. So in terms of weaknesses that I've run into, there are a couple of things that have led to me losing with this team. The first is I think playing against opposing Tailwind can be pretty scary because in a closed team sheet environment, you won't know the item on the opposing Tornadus. This Tornadus is really slow, right? You only have 28 speed EVs. So if you lead Tornadus, your opponent is Tornadus, and they taunt into this Tornadus, that can cause some major issues because then they can follow it up with a Tailwind of their own, and they'll just have the speed advantage for a couple of turns. So I've lost a lot of games where I think I was just up against an opposing Tornadus team, and I wasn't really sure how to leverage the Tornadus on this team because of fear of taunt. And I think in most of those games, I wasn't leading Tornadus, and I was trying to get fancy with staggering Tailwind, but then I figured maybe it's just better to actually lead Tornadus. It's obviously situational based on the team, but that's led to a fair amount of losses while practicing with this team. I think another thing that I've done that's led to losses is playing greedy with Flutter Mane and going for too many Calm Minds when I should just be protecting or attacking with it. This Flutter Mane can be really strong, but at the end of the day, if you're not going up against that many special attackers, physical attackers still can thrive into this, right? They're not going to get those big one-hit knockouts, but they often will still get those 2-hit KOs, and so you have to be careful with playing with this Flutter Mane because I've had games where I'm like, oh, I can just go for a Calm Mind, and then I don't get very much out of it. I think one other thing that I've done while playing with this Flutter Mane is actually playing a little bit too safe and going for Protects when I could be going for Gleams or Shadow Balls or even Calm Minds, for example. And so keep in mind, this is way bulkier than the Flutter Manes that you're used to, that your opponents are probably used to as well. And so it'll play in a fairly different manner. One other thing I've run into is just Chien-Pao is Life Orb. It's not Focus Sash. So it can just get KO'd by big moves. Sacred Sword from opposing Chien-Pao, for example. Make It Rain from Choice Scarf, Steel Tera, Golden Go. Well, they don't even need a Steel Tera, but Steel Tera covers for you Sucker Punching into it, for example. Flutter Mane just going for a Dazzling Gleam or a Moonblast. So obviously Chien-Pao can Tera to get around that, but my main point here is that this Pokemon can go down fairly quickly, so keep that in mind. I think one other thing to note is that you don't have Protect with Tornadus, Arcanine, and Rillaboom, which is fine. You do actually have a fair amount of Protect and switching potential with this team, but I've had games where I just don't lead super well and then realize, oh, this is really tricky to to get out of, especially if I bring like all 3 of these Pokemon, because it's just not very easy for me to like protect and switch out, for example. So that's one other thing to keep in mind. And I think with Flutter Mane, you're just not often actually going to get big one-hit knockouts, and so keep that in mind as well, because I think a lot of people when using this Pokemon are used to blowing things up, but that is not the case with a set like this. And I think if you miss out on knockouts that you expect to get with this team, things can really snowball out of control against you, because often you'll spend a lot of resources to try to get a knockout onto something, they'll retaliate back and probably trade positively, and that could put you in a really tough spot. So yeah, those are just a couple of things I run into. Let's get into these games. Okay, we've got a fun team here. Basculegion, the Sneasler, Volcarona, Rillaboom, Thundurus, and Urshifu. So with Thundurus and Sneasler, I would expect Swagger into Mirror Herb. So you Swagger something on my side, Mirror Herb activates, and then Sneasler just gets the boost. I think against Thundurus with this team, our answers include Hisuan Arcanine as a lead. I think is actually really strong here. I could just go Hisuan Arcanine Chien-Pao, honestly, and just like normal Tera E-Speed into the Sneasler. I think that's pretty tempting. What do I want in the back for this one? Let's see. Flutter is interesting. Don't know if I love Urshifu. Also, what kind of Basculegion it is? I mean, it's probably Rain Dance on Thundurus, right? So I think we want Rillaboom then. And then for the last one, I'm down for Flutter. I think with the booster energy, it's interesting. It puts on pressure against Urshifu. The main thing that's a little bit awkward for Flutter in this matchup is that it doesn't have too many great targets to just set up Calm Mind on. There aren't that many special attackers, Volcarona kind of being the main one for my opponent. But if they do actually prioritize Volcarona, I think we can bring out Flutter and start Calm Minding. But it's going to be Thundurus and Sneasler. Okay. So I think against this, I am happy to just go for normal Tera, Choice Band E-Speed onto Sneasler. Yeah, so I'm going to Tera, Extreme Speed. What are their switch-ins into Ice Skull Crash? It's really just Volcarona and Urshifu. Those are admittedly pretty decent switch-ins, but honestly I think I'm happy to just Ice Skull Crash here and then normal Tera E-Speed. My main question here is, what did they go for on turn 1? Sneasler could fake out. But if you fake out, who do you fake out, right? And also, are you bulky enough to take normal Tera, Choice Band, E-Speed with the defense drop? Okay, so we just see Extreme Speed come out immediately. Nice. Who needs Dragonite? Who needs Dragapult when you have Hisuan Arcanine? And they normal Tera the Arcanine. So now I have an even stronger Extreme Speed. Okay, Ice Skull Crash doesn't miss either. And this is Adamant Life Orb, so that's definitely just a KO. Oh, amazing. Extreme Speed being higher priority than the Swagger there alone makes things so valuable. Part of me is like, should I just stay in and go for Extreme Speed? Because that'll just get a knockout onto Urshifu. It's Water Urshifu and Basculegion. So they didn't even set up Rain Dance. Okay. They could just protect this, obviously. Honestly want to kind of just go for it, but let's think about the consequences, because even though I'm up substantially, I could still definitely lose this game. I think Basculegion here obviously puts on offensive pressure. I think you kind of need to protect this, but like, what's the upside of switching out, right? I think like Rillaboom and Flutter are actually both really good closers, whereas like, even if I were to switch this out and back in, what do I actually gain from that? So I think I'm actually happy to just click Extreme Speed onto the Urshifu and just Sucker Punch onto Basculegion. They don't Tera either Pokemon. What? This isn't crazy. Oh, it is Sash though. Okay. But I have Life Orb on the Chien-Pao and they didn't Tera Basculegion. So I think Sucker Punch might just Oko here. Oh my gosh. The damage that has come out this game feels illegal. But I will say, like, I specifically led Chien-Pao Arcanine to deal with the Thundurus and the Sneasler lead. And that's one of the fun things about this lead, right? Because it's like I'm bringing 2 physical attackers, but you can't even swagger the Chien-Pao, and I have faster priority than Hisuan and Arcanine. So the main thing I was worried about was either a defensive Tera from the Sneasler, for example. That could have been a little bit scary. But yeah, now I'm happy to just bring out Flutter Mane. That is, I think, one of the fastest games you'll ever see on Road to Ranked. That almost was just a 2-turn victory if the Urshifu didn't have Sash. I'm surprised the Basket Legion didn't go for a Tera, but I think we were so far ahead in this game that Flutter plus the Rillaboom would have always just secured us this end game. Like, we just won the game on turn 1, basically. So, yeah. That is certainly one way to get started with this team. Oh my gosh. Okay, we've got Dondozo, Tatsu, Chien-Pao, Dragapult, Pelipper, and Basket Legion. I wonder if this is Surf Dondozo because it's got the same core as a very cool Surf Dondozo team that I actually got eliminated from the European International Championships by. So Basket Legion is the main adjustment here. So against Dondozo, what do we think? We've got guaranteed crits from Urshifu. If it's Surf, then obviously Rillaboom is important. Tornadoes can Tailwind here. You could lead Pelipper Dondozo, for example. It is Grass Tera, Calm Mind Flutter, which is interesting with a lot of defense, but Wave Crash in the range should still do a ton of damage, which is concerning. I think in this one, I need to lean towards Urshifu Rillaboom. Torn. Maybe Flutter. I'm actually thinking about leading Torn plus Flutter in this one. I think like we need to cover for Oblivious Dondozo, so I'm not sure Hisuan Arcanine's as strong of a bring, although they could just lean into Dragonite Chien-Pao instead. Okay. Let's see. Oh, wow, they did. That's not ideal for me, in my opinion. That is very much not ideal. They could just normal Tera, extreme speed here immediately. You could Icicle Crash into Torn. This is where Hisuan and Arcanine would have been awesome as a switch in, but I didn't bring it. I mean, I don't mind just going for Tailwind here into Dazzling Gleam on turn 1. Like, I should survive an Icicle Crash from Chien-Pao. I think the question is whether or not they just go straight for normal Tera and then extreme speed onto Torn. My counterplay to that would have been Ghost Terroring, but it's actually Steel Tera. Whoa. Okay. Didn't expect that. Oh, are they just going to Iron Head my Flutter Mane with that? Honestly, even if they do, it's not the end of the world because then I get Urshifu out and I can just Water Tera and start clicking Surging Strikes. But I definitely didn't expect Steel Tera here, that's for sure. But my lead was definitely not great into their lead. I was expecting something like Pelipper Dondozo. That was a crit. Yeah, and they have Iron Head. Okay, that's going to knock out Flutter for sure. My question is whether or not that's choice banded, though, because like I said, now it's a free switch in into Urshifu, and I can just Water Tera and Surging Strikes. I don't even necessarily need to Water Tera it. For example, it's pretty easy to go Rain Dance here. Tera Strikes. I just don't know the item on this Dragonite. Like, would you really do that if you were choice banded? It could be AV, but I don't think you can really one-shot Urshifu anyway, so I'll target the Chien-Pao. They are going to stay in here, though. Okay. There's the Tera. It is extreme speed. Okay. Did they Sucker Punch with Chien-Pao as well now is my question? Nope, they don't. Okay. So we'll get the knockout onto Chien-Pao at least. Yeah. Okay, not terrible. Because you have to think that I still have Rillaboom in the back, right? They can't Tera Dondozo. I guess the awkward thing is I did just set up the rain, so if Basket Legion comes out right now, that's a little bit awkward. But I have Tailwind set up. Yep, it is the fish. What do I want to do in this position? My own Tailwind is expiring, so I gotta be pretty careful about that. I'm honestly thinking about clicking Bleak Wind here, though, and protecting. Because I'm thinking maybe Bleak Wind into Surging Strikes actually KOs the fish. Okay, the Extreme Speed into that slot. Yep. I mean, I think Urshifu is applying all the offensive pressure right now. Nice. We get Bleak Wind. It's good damage. Speed drop. Okay. Perfect. They doubled up in Urshifu. Yeah. Excellent. And now you can't even protect in front of Urshifu. That's what makes it so good, right? So I'm just going to Bleak Wind and Surging Strikes into this slot. You could Aqua Jet Extreme Speed. That's certainly one play. I think one thing to think about is how I actually beat Dragonite in the long run. I don't know if I actually need to show so much respect to Basket Legion here. Maybe it was better to just Surging Strikes into Dragonite. But they Extreme Speed into Tornadus. Okay, cool. I think my logic here is that, like, while Dragonite's annoying, Basket Legion in the rain is scary, especially because my Tailwind is expiring. I did get that lucky speed drop, though. But yeah, I think Bleak Wind plus the Surging Strikes is like guaranteed KO here anyway. Yeah, cool. So even though I fell behind pretty substantially from that turn 1, I think you can see the value of just the well-positioned Water Urshifu in rain, right? This thing just does so much damage. And my opponent had to commit a Tera in order to get that knockout on turn 1. So yeah, we're in super good shape right now. Tailwind Peter's out. You can still Extreme Speed. What's your final Pokemon? Pelipper? Cool, that works. Okay, with Pelipper out now, you can Extreme Speed into this. I'm happy to just click Bleak Wind Storm. And Surging Strikes into Dragonite. Yeah, and they end up forfeiting. So this was an interesting one. I think this game definitely highlighted the strength of the Urshifu. What I love about this team is just the amount of firepower that you have. You're going to have a game where Arcanine carries. You're going to have a game where Urshifu carries. You're going to have a game where Calm Mind Flutter Mane carries. And I think the combination of all of that is really, really awesome with this team. So, yeah. I think what's interesting is a well-positioned Urshifu just does so much damage because you can't protect in front of it. That's one of the reasons why Gastrodon has been an interesting Pokemon and people discussed it going into the World Championships. Gastrodon didn't really perform well in the Masters division, but it did win in the Seniors division. And part of the strength of it is it just prevents Urshifu from doing what it just did in that last game, right? So, yeah, as soon as my opponent committed the Steel Tera to Dragon, I figured, okay, well, Urshifu with the Water Tera should be able to take a couple of attacks. I think the main thing that could have been scary in this game is that they expected the Water Tera on Urshifu and they went for Sucker Punch with the Chien-Pao. That could have made things substantially worse. But, yeah, that single Protect, allowing me to get that chip damage with Bleak Wind, allowed us to just KO the subsequent turn with Surging Strikes, right? From like 70%, which is kind of wild to think about, onto Basket Legion. What is this? Okay, Dondozo, Tatsu, Chien-Pao Dragonite, Goldengo, and Tinkaton. So the main thing with Tinkaton Goldengo is you can go for Helping Hand with Mold Breaker to ignore Goldengo's ability and actually make it work. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was Scarf Goldengo and then you go like Tinkaton Goldengo lead. Scarf Goldengo with Tinkaton, Steel Tera. It's actually pretty scary, no? I also have to cover for Dragonite, Chien-Pao lead. Huh. Like, leading Hisuan Arcanine seems interesting. Arcanine, Urshifu. Torn Rillaboom. You know, the thing is, Rillaboom is terrible if they don't commit to Dondozo. This seems kind of wild. I brought Chien-Pao. I don't think that's actually the right decision. Like, I think part of the debate in this battle is, do we think our opponent commits to Dondozo, right? There's a Rillaboom in team preview. There's an Urshifu in team preview. I'm making the argument that I think they're not going to, because I think seeing Rillaboom and Urshifu in team preview alone is pretty scary. But if they bring Dondozo, I'm not actually super well equipped to deal with it. But it's Tinkaton Golden Go. Okay, cool. So it's Mold Breaker. Huh. Did they just go Helping Hand like Scarf Make It Rain? I honestly kind of want to pivot this into Torn. And then Surging Strikes. Maybe it's better to protect here, because I'm worried about, like... I'm worried about something random, like Scarf, Thunderbolt into Urshifu and Helping Hand. This is a pretty unconventional lead. No Tera. Which makes me think then you're confident on getting a KO. Interesting. They just went Fake Out Make It Rain. Okay. I don't hate that at the end of the day. Oh, that did nothing. That did such little damage. What? Interesting. Okay. Given that, my main debate is, who do I want to commit a Tera to in this battle? I think Water Tera on this is acceptable. So I'm thinking we just actually send it and Rain Dance. Maybe I should Tailwind. Tailwind, Water Tera, Surging Strikes. Target Tinkaton. Cool. Golden Go switches, so this is already looking really good. Into Dragonite, okay. So far, so good. My Chien-Pao pick right now is actually feeling pretty good, because if we see this, then it's clear they don't have Dondozo and Tatsu, so it should be Chien-Pao as their fourth one, barring anything crazy. Could always be like a Scarf Tatsu in the back with Icy Wind support, but I feel way better now than I was going into this battle. I thought about clicking Rain Dance plus the Surging Strikes, but I think just guaranteeing Tailwind right now is pretty valuable for this endgame. Oh, we also definitely did not need Rain Dance. Holy cow, that does so much damage. Rocky Helmet on the Tinkaton. Ah, it survives just with enough to... Ooh, okay, that's actually pretty annoying. Because I think I'm at the mercy of extreme speed from normal Tera Dragonite right now. Oh, man. It being Rocky Helmet actually changes everything here, because now it's a free switch in into the Chien-Pao. Oh. Oh, this just got really interesting. Okay. E-Speed into this. Very safe. Tailwind this set up. I'm thinking of going for Bleak Wind here. And then pivoting out into Hisuan and Arcanine. Yeah. I really think it's Choice Scarf Golden Go, given how turn 1 played out, right? Like, Make It Rain just did not do that much damage in a Tornado, so I do have to respect that as the endgame option. Ah, it's Multi-Skill Dragonite. That's actually really good for us here. Okay, so they go for normal Tera, presumably. But getting an Intimidate here is awesome, so I'm happy with that. There's normal Tera. Okay, so now I can just Sacred Sword you. I go for E-Speed. Yep. It still does so much damage, jeez. Ah, Bleak Wind misses. Ah, that's the worst Bleak Wind double miss ever. But they are Ice Spinner. Interesting. So they actually do take the Rocky Helmet damage. So not that actually important on the Chien Pao slot, but yeah. Like breaking the sash on Chien Pao. Oh, they're Life Orb Chien Pao anyway. Okay, so it actually doesn't even matter. It's funny. Okay. I can bring out my Chien Pao now. And we're also Life Orb. So that's fun. Two turns of Tailwind. Urshifu is my last one. Arcanine here. So they could Extreme Speed into this and Sucker Punch into this. You could Sacred Sword this, E-Speed this. I think we go for the knockout onto Dragonite because it's guaranteed here. So I want to click Sacred Sword into this. Actually, I think they might Sucker Punch. Ugh, I don't like the option I opted for. I definitely don't like it now. Oh. That was a great play. I feel like I was in such a good spot. And I was so close to just E-Speeding and Sacred Swording the Dragonite slot there. They target Arcanine, okay. So I've got Sucker Punch into this, obviously. Ah, that was a really good play by them. I think I needed to... I was worried about the switch going the other way around, like this going into Golden Go, because E-Speed Sacred Sword into that would have been brutal. I kind of want to just send it with Life Orb Sucker Punch here. Life Orb and switch into Urshifu. I'm hoping here we can just get the knockout onto Golden Go. They E-Speed into Urshifu. I'm not even sure we survive that, honestly. Okay, they go for Extreme Speed, yep. Into Chien Pao, okay. Nice, and we survive, that's huge. And I get Life Orb Sucker Punch into Golden Go. And get the KO, okay, that's huge. This is a crazy game. I'm still not in the clear, right? Because Tailwind just expired. They stalled on my Tailwind really effectively. That Golden Go switching was masterfully done. Wonder how different this game would have looked without the double Bleak Wind miss, but I think I also had this game potentially won, and my opponent made a fantastic prediction. Because like Extreme Speed from this is still just so scary, right? You can E-Speed into either slot, and like all my Pokemon are so low. Can you get a double knockout right now? You E-Speed into this, Sacred Sword into this. I feel like if I get one knockout this turn, I win, but who do I target, right? I think I want to pivot in Arcanine here. Surging Strikes. Dragonite. I don't know, like, they might double up onto Urshifu here. I could have made the switch the other way. Or just stayed in with both. Like, could they have knocked out both? So there's E-Speed. Oh, they target Arcanine. Okay, I mean, does Chien Pao get the KO onto Urshifu here at -1? You are Life Orb. Was this KO? Nice. Okay. I could have gone for close combat there, but I figured with Water Tera, Mystic Water, and the defense drop, it's enough. And yeah, that looks like it's enough. Okay, sweet. So now it's yeah, now Chien Pao can't knock out both Pokemon, so I can just Sucker Punch and Surging Strikes. This game is crazy. Oh my gosh. Okay. Bring out Chien Pao. This team is so good. It's crazy how even though it's like the same Pokemon as so many common teams, like the sets really go such a long way. So yeah, we can just Sacred Sword now. And Surging Strikes. I mean, close combat does the deal as well, but yeah. Oh, basically, yeah, that turn I felt like my opponent needed to double up onto Urshifu, But then if you double up onto that and I switch that into Arcanine, right, then where does the game go? So I think the main thing was the double Bleak Wind miss was a little bit tough because it would have allowed me to break multi-skill a little bit sooner. And then the Golden Go switch-in was really well done. Fortunately, though, they stayed in with Golden Go. I think they were not expecting Life Orb Sucker Punch on my end to just get a one-hit knockout. So this game highlights why you'd want to consider using Life Orb Chien-Pao specifically. And boy, did it come through. Okay, we've got Urshifu, Hisuan Arcanine, Rillaboom, Zapdos, Chien-Pao, and Golden Go here. I think Zapdos really stands out to me. Our teams are obviously really similar with 4 of the 6A mons. Zapdos, I think, is really scary. Normally, that's not going to carry Protect, and it uses something like Steel Tera. Booster Flutter gives us a speed advantage, which is quite nice. I wonder if I ever lean into Arcanine Chien-Pao here. Arcanine Chien-Pao Flutter, Rillaboom? Do we really bring Rillaboom? Why am I bringing Rillaboom into this matchup? Like, I don't think the Calm Minds are going to be that good here, but I can set up in front of Zapdos. I don't know. I'm honestly pretty intrigued by Chien-Pao, Hisuan, Arcanine here. Flutter with Booster in the back. I don't love Torn in the Zapdos matchup. I think I'm going to elect for Rillaboom here because I want to switch it into Surging Strikes, and I think if I don't have a switch in, it's pretty scary. But we'll see. Cool team. I think, yeah, Zapdos I thought was kind of an underplayed Pokemon in Regulation D overall, but I'm really happy to see it win the World Championships in the Seniors Division. The main reason I thought like Zapdos and Thundurus were interesting is because like all the Tornadus Tailwind teams and the Electric Birds, I guess Thundurus isn't really a bird, but they have decent matchups, right, into Tornadus. This is a great lead by them, and it ends up being very bad for me. Not only do they get Intimidate, but this is very ugly. Great lead by them. What do I do? I don't even know if normal Tera E-Speed plus Sucker Punch or Sacred Sword KOs this. They could just protect that slot too. I just hate how much pressure Urshifu applies onto my side of the field, so I'm going to try to go for it, but I don't know if this is going to work. Like, if they just protect turn 1, Hisuan Arcanine gets the Flare Blitz my Chien-Pao slot, and I'm down significantly, but I think I'm already behind based on how the leads look in this battle, so I need to make a big play. That's how I see it. Okay, so they don't protect, but if it's Choice Scarf, that's also bad news. Oh, I don't even think I KO with the Intimidate. Ah, I was so close. That's a disaster for me then. Oh, okay. It could have been worse. They targeted Chien-Pao instead. Okay. Yeah, if we get that knockout, that trade on turn 1's actually worth it, and so I was willing to go for it given how bad I thought the lead situation was, but we fall just short of the KO, unfortunately. This is gonna hurt. A lot of damage. How do I even beat their Hisuan Arcanine now? I didn't really bring great things to deal with it, huh? That's on me. So, by bringing Rillaboom out, you would think the Urshifu just protects here. Like, I honestly feel like I'm really behind in this game. Like, the obvious play is to just fake out this, Extreme Speed into Urshifu. I kind of wouldn't expect this to protect and, like, switch out into Flutter Mane right now and Stomping Tantrum. Like, I feel like I'm really behind based on that turn 1. I committed my Tera, I lost the Pokemon, Arcanine is such low HP. So I'm looking for ways to, like, really claw back into the game and completely swing the momentum back into my favor. And I'm thinking about predicting Urshifu to protect here and knocking out Arcanine. Like, the reality is, there's a good chance this doesn't work, but if I can predict it correctly, it actually swings the momentum pretty heavily back into my favor. So, the first question here is, does Urshifu go for a protect? If not, like, we're already in danger. Okay, good. Flare Blitz into Rillaboom. We should survive that with Intimidate, right? Ah! Never mind. So they're definitely Choice Banded as well. Okay. Well, that's not great. Man, I got absolutely crushed by similar Pokemon we're up against. In this game, I just indexed very heavily on, like, countering, say, like, Zapdos as the lead. I think their lead was just so strong. Yeah. So, nicely done. Is there any way in which I can still win this game? I don't want to give up yet. I think it's actually still possible. Aqua Jet from this should not KO me. You're faster with this. Like, I can just Shadow Ball extreme speed. I went for Calm Mind extreme speed. Okay, Arcanine switches. Yeah, so I should get a free Calm Mind boost at least. I just thought, yeah, I mean, like, imagine if I... Dang, yeah, imagine if I Flare Blitz that slot. Flare Blitz Hisuan Arcanine and just Dazzling Gleam. That would be a double knockout. And I know you're choiced with your Arcanine, so then I Shadow Ball that for a KO. Then the question is, can Flutter 1v1 whatever's in the end game? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so they bring their Arcanine back out. Still could be doable, honestly, depending on when their last one is. It's probably Chien-Pao, though, right? And you can just, like, fake out this and E-Speed this if your last one is Chien-Pao. So I can Dazzling Gleam. Shadow Ball. They haven't even Terra'd yet, so normal Tera, they would probably just win my opponent the game. Oh, that also just works. Yeah. Oh, that turn one, like, missing out the knockout and Chien-Pao fainting was so bad because Chien-Pao's so critical in this matchup, and I'm sure it's their final Pokemon. But I think I just got outled here because I indexed really heavily on trying to beat Zapdos. I also wonder if I could have won the game if I Flare Blitzed there, but probably not because I assume they'll have Chien-Pao as their last. Oh, Woodhammer is still a knockout there. Jeez, even with the amount of defense. So they're probably just admin max attack. Yeah. So similar. It was. I mean, it's interesting because we have basically very similar teams, but because they had Zapdos over Tornadus, I was really scared about the speed control that could offer, so I over-indexed on trying to beat that. But then my opponent just really outled me, right? So what would I lead to beat their lead specifically in this game? They had the Hisuan, Arcanine, and the Urshifu. So what would I want to do against that? Hisuan, Arcanine, Urshifu. I think it's probably my Urshifu and, like, Tornadus, for example. I think my Urshifu and Flutter could work. Chien-Pao definitely should not be out on the field against that duo. Hisuan and Arcanine also should not be out on the field against that duo, and I brought both of them into the battle in the leads. Rillaboom's not bad, but of course in best of one, I don't know if their Arcanine's Choice Banded or something else. Rillaboom would have been able to apply pressure. Although I guess the awkward thing about Rillaboom is that it's Steel Tera, so it's still weak to Flare Blitz from the Arcanine. I also nailed the prediction on Urshifu protecting, but then I went for high horsepower onto the Arcanine. That could have been a fake out that turn. Fake out and then Shadow Ball from Flutter, but I didn't think that would KO, quite frankly, which is why I didn't go for it. And I was hoping we could survive Flare Blitz, and I retaliate back with the knockout. But I just traded really poorly in this game, right? Like, they got an immediate knockout onto Chien-Pao and onto Rillaboom, and that's not great for me. So, yeah, I think it's really interesting because our teams were really similar, but I thought they had a Pokemon that gave them a huge advantage. That Pokemon did not even make an appearance, so you can see how like team preview can sometimes influence the psychology of the Pokemon selection. And in this one, I hoped to see one Pokemon did not come out. So yeah. Okay, this looks like Federico's team from top 4 Worlds this year. I don't know if it's the rental, but either way, Cress, Dragonite, Hands, Flutter, Ursaluna, Urshifu. Trick Room is scary. I think like Rillaboom Flutter is a pretty good lead. On the team that got top 4 at Worlds, it was Flying Tera Dragonite, which I think is actually a huge problem for us in this matchup. I think something like Hands Dragonite lead is very scary. And it's very bad for Flutter Mane. How do I deal with Hands Dragonite? It's Rillaboom Champao. Fake out Icicle Crash. Oh, this is kind of scary. I'm going Rillaboom Champao, Hisuan, Arcanine, Flutter, but I don't know if I actually really like that here. I think, like, I'm scared of a couple things. Flying Tera Dragonite is just an immense threat to our team here. It can clear things really quickly. I think that the threat of Trick Room is always scary in itself. Ah, it's just Crest Hands, okay. Yeah, it's honestly not a great lead for me. I think I over-indexed on expecting Dragonite. Like, I can bring in Arcanine for Intimidate, which is nice, but how far does that get me? I think one of my questions is, do we just trade Fake Outs on turn 1, or did they just straight up Drain Punch into this? I don't feel like I'm in a good spot here, honestly. Like, I want to Fake Out Cress, Tera, and just Icicle Crash. So basically what this cover is for is if they end up just Drain Punching Chienpao. Like, my goal right now is to not let Trick Room get set up, because I think I'm already in a bad spot from the lead. So, because I think my opponent outled me here, I led this to counter Dragonite specifically, because I was really worried about the Dragonite lead. I think, like, Flutter actually could have been pretty interesting here, and just, like, click Calm Mind on turn 1. Pivoting Hisuan Arcanine, Intimidate, for example. Let them set up Trick Room and then play from there. But I didn't go with that approach in this one because I was really worried about the Dragonite. Oh, perfect. Okay, that works. Nice, so we don't miss. That is illegal damage. What? What? That did so much. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. I am happy to Woodhammer here. And crash into this slot. Maybe we just play it safe. Double up on Crest, because Trick Room going up here isn't ideal. Life Orb Admin Chienpao? Jeez. Jeez. Okay, we don't miss. Yeah, I'm really surprised they actually went for Fake Out onto Rillaboom. I felt like their options there were Fake Out into Chienpao or Drain Punch into it. Fake Out from Chienpao was like the main play I was worried about. Now we get Woodhammer with that defense drop. It does so much damage. Jeez. And we even survived the Drain Punch. My gosh. The main stressful thing about using this Chienpao is just the potential of missing, but it is crazy how different Life Orb feels on this Pokemon. They bring out Urshifu. Huh. You could Water Tera Hands right now. This should be sashed. I don't hate Woodhammer again into this and just Sacred Sword into Urshifu. Hand switches, that's fine. Into Ursaluna, perfect. Yeah, like just being able to deny them Trick Room in this game was such a big deal. Okay, and they go for a Tera. Yeah, that's fine. Because you can only get a knockout on one of the 2 slots here. And now that you've committed Dark Tera, Flutter Mane with Dazzling Gleam is just looking really good too. I think turn 1 really decided this game. I mean, it's not over by any means, but it gave me a pretty huge advantage. Okay, they are going to go for Sucker Punch here onto the Chien-Pao, but that's not enough for a KO. So this should bring you down to Focus Sash. Yep. And Woodhammer should just one-shot Ursaluna. So I thought the lead wasn't very good for us, but it goes to show even if just one turn goes your way, you can have such a huge advantage. And like, look how much damage Rillaboom is doing with Chien-Pao out next to it. This is absolutely nuts. Jeez. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the game's just over here, right? Like, I have Arcanine as well as Flutter Mane. We can just bring out Flutter. Okay. They bring out hands. So what they should do here is protect the Urshifu. And Heavy Slam, presumably, into the Flutter. But I think what we can do is just go for Dazzling Gleam here and pivot out into Arcanine. This covers for everything. If you Sucker Punch into Flutter, I should just win the game immediately. If you protect Heavy Slam, I still deal enough damage to the Iron Hands where then I can just Extreme Speed with the Arcanine the next turn and Sacred Sword into Iron Hands. So I'm feeling really good. Did not think the lead would actually work out as well as it did, but it would be a very different game if they targeted us on turn 1. Oh, they actually fake out into... Okay, that works. I see what they're going for. Yeah, you just hope that Sucker Punch KOs, but with the Intimidate and our bulk here, there's no way that KOs. Yeah. This bulky Flutter Mane is crazy. Perfect. But like I said, even if they had protected Urshifu, Heavy Slam into Flutter, and that gets the knockout, the Gleam does enough damage where then I can just bring out Chien-Pao and then just Extreme Speed the Urshifu, Sacred Sword into Iron Hands, and win the game from there. So, beautiful. Okay, now we just Gleam again, and Fliplets. Awesome. Chien-Pao went off in this one. It was interesting because the Poison Tera looked like kind of weird on turn 1, but basically in my head, I think there was a very realistic world where my opponent goes Drain Punch onto Chien-Pao and Trick Room on turn 1. So getting that Fake Out into Cresselia was huge, and then like them not going for Fake Out onto Chien-Pao was huge. But basically my game plan was even if we trade Fake Outs on turn 1 and you Fake Out into Chien-Pao, the next turn I can just Ice Skull Crash and Woodhammer into Cresselia, and if I deny Trick Room, I should be in great shape in this battle. It was really funny because I was worried about Dragonite the whole time and that did not even make an appearance, but my lead was to cover for that specifically. But it goes to show even if the lead doesn't look amazing and it's not what you would plan for, you can still play your way out of it. All right, we've got Trick Room here with Hands, Torkoal, Flutter, Armarouge, Indeedee, and Urshifu. So what do we want to do against Trick Room specifically? I think Indeedee is a problem. We can use Rillaboom for terrain. I think this is a very interesting matchup for Calm Mind Flutter Mane. I actually really want to leverage Calm Mind Flutter in this one, I think. I think Tornadus is actually interesting because of Rain Dance. So one thing we could do is combo Tornadus with Urshifu and just like Rain Dance, Surging Strikes. But I really like the idea of prioritizing Flutter Mane. I think Chien-Pao probably not very strong here since I can't Sucker Punch easily. I'm thinking like an Arcanine Flutter Mane lead. Arcanine just applies a ton of offensive pressure immediately on turn 1. We'll have Rillaboom in the back, and I think Urshifu is the 4th. Makes sense. But to me, I think, yeah, this can be a really interesting game for Calm Mind Flutter specifically, because they mainly have special attackers. Right? They have Torkoal, Flutter, Indeedee, and Armarouge. Flutter has a good offensive matchup in Iron Hands as well as the Urshifu. Arcanine here with Intimidate is going to be valuable into hands, and this Flutter is almost as defensive as it gets. Max HP, 164 defense EVs. Rillaboom for terrain control is valuable here as well, so we'll have to think about potentially pivoting it in. And they're going to go with Hands and Armor Rouge. Okay. So I'm decently happy with this lead, I would say. I think it's very likely they just click Fake Out onto Arcanine on turn 1. So one thing I could do, it's pretty easy to just go straight for Calm Mind here, with the expectation that they go Fake Out into this and then Trick Room. Yeah, I'm happy to launch a Head Smash here, although I don't think it'll end up working out. I could also consider pivoting this out into Rillaboom for Fake Out pressure next turn. I think that's also interesting. So like Calm Mind here and switch right into Rillaboom. I think I prefer to stay in though. I'm going to Calm Mind and just Head Smash turn 1. Okay, they're going to go straight for a Tera here. So it makes me think it's a defensive Tera on the Armor Rouge to set up Trick Room. Grass here would certainly make a lot of sense. Yep. That's fine. I think one of the questions I have in this game is just whether or not they brought Indeedee, because I could see it being Indeedee Torkoal as the last two. So, yep, there's Fake Out as expected. We're going to go for Calm Mind here. Now the game gets interesting. Curious how much normal Tera E-Speed would do into the hand slot. I think that's my main question right now. So I think this turn, it's fine clicking Protect here. My main question is, do I want to play offensively with the Arcanine, or do I want to just pivot out into Rillaboom right now? Personally, I think I'm okay going out into Rillaboom. I think right now they should feel pressured by the Flutter Mane, especially after seeing that Calm Mind boost. One of the things we're going to want to leverage in this game is just our toolkit of Fake Out, Grassy Terrain, and Flutter Mane being really defensive. By switching in Rillaboom next turn, it's like I pressure Fake Out onto either slot, which is quite nice. I have the special attack and special defense boost on Flutter, and their Iron Hands is at -1 attack. So unless they're clicking specifically like Armor Cannon into Rillaboom this turn, I feel pretty good. This is a relatively easy way to stall out one turn on Trick Room, and then we'll go from there. Great, they Wild Charge. Wouldn't be surprised to see a double up there. Ah, they've got Energy Ball. Okay, well that's good to know. So I think this turn is really interesting, because if you have Indeedee, you can go hands out into Indeedee and then just click Expanding Force. I could Grass Tera here, but as soon as I Grass Tera, then I become weak to your Armor Cannon, which is pretty concerning. And an Expanding Force, while it hurts, like we still have Rillaboom and Flutter Mane, and I have the special defense boost. So I think here, I'm actually thinking about going for a second Calm Mind. That might be a little bit greedy. But I think it could honestly pay off. Yeah, I'm down to Calm Mind here and then Fake Out into the Iron Hands. You could also switch Armor Rouge into Indeedee, but it is going to be hand switching out. Yep. So I thought about making the read there and like hard switching my Rillaboom, but I'm fine forcing Iron Hands to switch out here. Like, yeah, Indeedee gets set up, but Flutter, like I said, gets another boost, and the next turn I can just protect Flutter and then pivot Rillaboom out and then back in the subsequent turn. So U-turn would have been super nice there, but I didn't think the trade-off was really worth it if Hands gets an attack off into me. Ah, they do burn me, which is a little unfortunate. Okay, just because it's like unnecessary residual damage that I have to take. But we'll get another Calm Mind up. Okay. Yeah, burn's a little unfortunate, but that's okay. With 2 turns of Trick Room left, I could pretty easily protect and pivot out this turn. They're probably just going to go for Expanding Force. So I'm actually thinking about like staying in with Rillaboom and U-turning here, thanks to us having the Assault Vest. Yeah, I'm down for that. I'm going to protect U-turn. They actually pivot Indeedee out. Okay. Into Torkoal. Okay. Makes sense. We'll get a Protect off here. Yep, they click Expanding Force. See if that gets the knockout onto us. Nice, we survived thanks to Assault Vest. U-turn, pivot out. Okay, what do I want to bring out? I think the obvious pick is the Urshifu, because I can just protect Urshifu on this final turn. I think the downside is probably a missed opportunity to attack with Flutter Mane last turn, and even though I'm at +2 special defense, like, do I survive this turn, right? Because you can just Eruption and Expanding Force. So I'm going to click Dazzling Gleam and Protect, but yeah, those boosts might not actually end up being relevant here. And we have Grass Tera on Flutter, so if I Tera, I just become weak to their Fire type attacks, which is unfortunate. So I think this is the key turn of the game. If Flutter gets this Gleam off and then can Gleam again next turn, we're in super good shape. But I think if I just Gleam last turn and then protected this turn, I would be, yeah, better off. There was no need to protect in front of Indy Arma. Oh, that did nothing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I honestly think without the burn, this Flutter would have wrecked so much harder. Oh my gosh, but we tank both of those. That's impressive. That's a lot of damage from Dazzling Gleam. Wow. And I still survived, so wow, okay. Trick Room expires. I'm happy to just click Dazzling Gleam again and Surging Strikes into Torkoal, yeah. Could you imagine how this game would have played out if the Flutter Mane did not get burnt? Like, I would just be at 3 HP, but I would be able to just Dazzling Gleam everything. So, the boost actually did end up being relevant. I wasn't sure if I was going to survive an Eruption Expanding Force double up there, but you can see how bulky this Flutter Mane is. That's wild. I do think, though, yeah, the turn I protected into Armourouge plus Indy, that should have just been a Dazzling Gleam, because then I could have protected the subsequent turn, and I gave my opponent the free opportunity to switch in Torkoal, so that was not ideal on my end. But the fact that Flutter was able to survive even after a turn of burn there is nuts. Also, the Armourouge here does not have Protect. Yeah, because we saw that it has Energy Ball, so this should just be a double KO. Amazing. Calm Mind Flutter, such an interesting set, and I don't think I played it perfectly in this game, but man, did it put in work. The main thing is being able to get those boosts so that I don't take as much damage while Trick Room is up. I'm just a little sad that we couldn't show like a full sweep with it, because yeah, I think if we weren't burnt here, or if I made the better play of attacking right when it was against Torkoal and the Armourouge, and then protecting as the Torkoal switched in, and then protecting the next turn, Flutter would have just taken way less damage, right? But I think it's done more than I've needed to in this game. So we'll bring out the Hisuan Arcanine. We still haven't Terra'd, by the way, either. But I think Hisuan Arcanine with this Choice Band Flare Blitz in itself is super good right now. I think the main thing we want to be aware of is the Indy potentially setting up Trick Room again. But with this, I have Terrain Control with Rillaboom in the back as well. 2 turns of Sunlight, 1 turn of Psychic Terrain. I am happy to just click Flare Blitz here into the Indy slot. Just double checking our speeds here, because it could be Rocky Helmet on Indy, right? We haven't seen anything from it yet. So Flare Blitz and Close Combat, just to guarantee the knockout onto that. And the reason why I feel comfortable in this situation is because I got the Intimidate onto the Iron Hands. So I'll be able to, even if you get a knockout here, which I would expect them to, I'll be able to pivot in my Rillaboom in for free. And with Rillaboom, I can just click Fake Out onto Iron Hands to deny it an attack, right? So let's see who they target here. Is it Drain Punch or Wild Charge? Okay, it's going to be the Drain Punch, and that's not enough to KO. Perfect. Okay, excellent. So now I can just go for Flare Blitz in the Sun, Choice Band boosted, and Close Combat, and we didn't even need Tera in this game. Yeah, I think Flare Blitz should just get the KO. I mean, that Close Combat did a lot more than I expected, actually, but I guess that's the difference of Jolly versus Admin Urshifu. And now Choice Band Flare Blitz in the Sun to get the knockout. Perfect. I think in terms of Pokemon choice here, Tornadus would have been interesting, mainly for Rain Dance, but I just think if it's a really awkward Pokemon to bring, because once Trick Room is set up, it can't protect, it doesn't really do much damage either. I think if Chien-Pao had Crunch, I'd consider bringing it, but given the Chien-Pao set here, Sucker Punch, Ice Skull Crash, Sacred Sword Protect, just didn't feel like we could do very much against the pressure of Fake Out from Iron Hands, as well as into the Armarouge Trick Room. So, yeah, I think the 4 Pokemon we brought were really strong. I think I could have played slightly more optimal with Flutter Mane, but yeah, even with like imperfect play on it, you could see how good it was, right? It was imperfect play plus a burn, and the Flutter still provided so much value, enough where we were able to stall out our opponent's Trick Room fully with this Pokemon alone on the field, which is not very common to say with Flutter Mane. So, yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one, so thank you so much, as always, for joining me. I think one of the things I really enjoyed in this episode was being able to showcase so many of the offensive options on this team. We had Hisuan Arcanine destroyed through teams, we had Water Urshifu Tera destroyed through teams, especially with Rain Dance support. We had the Grass Tera Calm Mind Flutter put in a lot of work, and the Poison Tera Chien-Pao, and so it's really cool to be able to Tera all the different options that are really important for this team, and showcase how strong it can be. So, yeah, thank you so much, as always, for watching. Thank you to Hirofumi for building such an incredible team, and I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.